So good morning, all of you.
Good morning, sir.
So I hope that you have watched the video about operator overloading, right? I think many of you have done the assignments also. Did you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I have seen that around 40 people have done this program. So I hope that all of you have viewed the video. So is there any need I need to discuss? Is there any doubt regarding operator overloading, or should I repeat any sub concept of that? Can anybody raise your hand and just ask uh, for your benefit? So that there is no need for us to go through the entire topic again, but I can clarify your doubts if possible. Yeah. Anybody? Mahak, do you have any doubts? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any doubt on operator overloading? I could not hear you. No. Okay. Anybody else? So if you can raise the hand that we can proceed to the next topic, just raise the hand so that I will know how many of you wants to proceed to the next topic. Skipping off this because you have already seen the video about that. So I have seen only 25 participants raising the hand. I think those who did not raise the hand, can you ask me any doubt if you have in that? Okay, fine. So around I think 35 people among so it might go on rise. Okay, then I'll skip this topic because it's already seen by you. I think that day we have discussed very good examples and good coding that so I think repetition can only give you just a topic but not a straight away example like what we have discussed in that for that other section. So just I tried to share with you because it was very nice that we have discussed few things. Anyway, I have shared few videos of you to them and a few videos of that section to you. Because sometimes some examples are very spontaneous, they cannot be repeated again. So I generally prefer to share direct video if it is really happening. So if you have direct contact anyway, I have to repeat the topic again. But I always feel that not every time I can get the same example or I can efficiently tell about the concept and the topic. If I really like, I really want to share that videos to you every time. Okay, you can stop raising your hand. So let's go to the next tool of ours. Share the screen. Yeah, before that, I want to just tell you something about this. Yeah, are you able to see the screen of VS Code? Can anybody? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, right. Actually, we have something called pill, right? I have said like image processing, we will have a library or a package called pill. So there is a package which you need to install like Pillow for working out with the images. And when you want to work out with images, it has a lot of things you need to do. So when I'm teaching this code in place, Stanford is offering something called what we say simple image.py file, which the students will get along with the assignments, and students try to manipulate the images. So when they manipulate the images, they use this simple image.py file and its functions and the class and how to declare everything. So PIL is actually a professional library or a package for the people who do image processing, not for the starters. So even for the experimentation, we can use PIL and do that. So what Stanford has done is one person has tried to make everything simple, and whatever required for the starter people to work out with the images and the pixels to know how the images can be manipulated. He created a class called simple image. So I could not get that file actually. I tried to get it, but Stanford is offering a platform called a ED. It's like education platform. So there only they will put the file, and the file is not publicly available, and it is only available to the employees or the volunteers or the students who work in Stanford. So actually it is eligible for me. I am able to do in that particular platform, but I am unable to get the file and give it to you. So see the advantage of writing our own classes when we know what is a class concept. So yesterday I have sat on Sunday. I have worked up to night 1 or 2 something, night 1 o'clock, I think, in regular intervals of time, not continuously. Seeing on how I am working with that simple images. So I have worked on simple images like this. If I can show you, if it works. Yeah, these are the problems they have given on these. And so what I have, is my voice audible or is it breaking? Can you tell me?
It's audible, sir.
It's audible, sir.
So this see, yeah, actually this is what we actually import. This is where the Stanford is offering us for doing something. So when I'm teaching them, I can actually use this library, and they can also do it by using this particular library, some assignments and so. So so everything is fine, that I have understood how these functions work and everything. We don't have any documentation or we don't have any code or something available for that. So I want to replicate it for you and your benefit, so that we can do some projects, or you can develop some classes based on this understanding and modify the images so that it will be a little bit fun. Maybe we can use this in our data structures live assignments also if possible. So I tried to replicate it actually. So yesterday Sunday I sat and I tried to write my own simple image class using the library called Pill. So I got an idea because the main instructors who are actually controlling the entire code in place session have told us that we have developed a class called, a package called simpleimage.py, a file in which you can have many functions which are easy for the students to understand, because pill is very complex. So you need to understand a lot to use pill. So they have developed a very simple thing where you can use it. So I got an idea, why can't I develop it? So I started yesterday. I sat and worked in regular intervals, and I could make some functions and the library. So I have made it like simple image, and I have done some functions like display, blank, store, and modify. So display is like showing up the image. So if you call display, it will display the image. If you want to create a blank image with all white pixels or all black pixels, that means a complete white picture or a black picture or any other picture, red, green, blue, something, some color, you can use this function. So store is saving that image in a particular file name. Whatever file name you want to give, you can give. I can modify that. So the modification also I have done, right? So each pixel you can modify and make it something else. So this is the program I have written here. So this is very simple, you see. So just store the image, display the image. It's very simple for you to understand. So you can find out the total number of pixels by finding out the width and height. And based on width and height, you can go to each pixel and find out its red, green, blue. Actually, in Pillow, the red, green, blue is not given. In simple image, we can understand what is red, green, blue. So one fine day, I will explain you what are images and how the pixels will be considered. Remember, if you see your TV, if you go near to your TV, you can see a lot of checks like of thing, right? So it's LED, right? So everything is a pixel, right? The small pixel will be there. If you closely observe the screen, you will have that black lines covering the entire screen. It looks like your checkbook. So each pixel will have three colors, red, green, blue. By adjustment of these three colors, you can, by knowing and adjusting them, you can change the color itself. That's what the images will be. So I will show you an example. So this is a very small code I have written, right? So convert something into a grayscale. So I'm converting a color into a grayscale. So you might ask me, sir, there are many things like Photoshop and MATLAB and all, but they give the functions directly. They give something like you give the color image and you write, you pass it on to a function like grayscale something, and they will directly convert it within one line. But the beauty of writing our own code is something like understanding clearly what is happening inside and converting into a grayscale is quite interesting and very happy for us. So what I have done is, because they are not showing us red, blue, green, and blue, they are giving the values as tuples. So the value will be looking like this. I can just show you. So they will say 122, 30, 31. This is how they give the values of red, green, blue, and all. So you cannot know what is red, what is blue, and what is green to modify something. So I have written the my own class. So I have taken the entire burden for you. So I have used the pill library, and I have developed a class called simple image, and it will make your life simple when you work with images. So I still am just trying to add two more functions, then everything will be ready and you can work out with the assignments like working out with the images. It will be a little bit fun on working with images, right? The reflection image, copying the images, giving it a border, changing the colors, everything. I will just show you. So this is where I am modifying my entire image using modification of the pixels. See, this modify function is written by me. Okay, so I have made it something like, so if I give you the task, so you can just give the XY position of a pixel. So remember the entire screen as matrix. So when you want some value in a matrix, how do you do that? You can say the first row and the second column like that, right? The XY also indicates the same thing, but here X is the row and Y is the column. X is the column and Y is the row. So the coordinate, we are giving the coordinate like your graph. Graph also has pixel type of things, right? So you're giving the coordinate of a particular pixel, where it is located and how you want to change the RGB. So the first parameter here is R, the second one is G, the third one is B. Okay, this is RGB. So this is how I am changing it. So you can see how I have written this one, modify. So we get RGB values and I am trying to give it to the pixel. So we can modify the pixels. So in this case, what I am doing is I am collecting the red, green, blue pixel and modifying them and trying to change the color of a particular image. So the output is something like this. So this is the original image that I got. So I have changed it into grayscale. The entire image has been converted into grayscale. So that's a formula actually. The what I'm showing you now in the code is actually a formula. So if you multiply red with some value and blue with some value and green with some value and add them all and give it to each pixel in the place of RGB, it will entirely get converted into grayscale. It's a little bit fun. You can go through internet on how to convert this and that, and you can definitely find out. There are assignments I have collected from Stanford also. It's very easy for us to do that. We can highlight the colors. There are some images which I have seen, right? It's very good. I will collect that image. Like there is a satellite image of Californian fire, forest fire. I think you always know that California has a lot of fires, right? So they're using those satellite images, people start to mark where the fires have occurred, where the fire is going on. There is a smoke and fire both, right? So using the images, the computer has to identify where the fires and round mark it. Round mark in the sense like it will color the entire pixels where it identified the fire as red. So by this, we can easily know that. I think I had that. I want to just show you this. Yeah. Finding forest flames. Yeah, you see how they have done it. So I have done this code, but using simple image that was given by them. But you can also do this by using my simple image library, which I'm developing. You can see this. You can see the line of fire. You see on the left side. You can see the line of fire, and using those things, it just tried to mark it with red. So indicating that these are the places where the fire is still there and remaining is entirely smoke. So this type of things will really give you confidence on that you are really working on direct images. So remember, you have studied around 4 months of Python, and these people have studied around only 3 weeks of Python, and people are doing this assignment. So you should be doing this one also. So it will be very good for you to understand the real-time applications of Python and all. So now you can understand that this is another image I have tried to convert using some other formula. So you can see that the yellow has been converted to green and the red has been converted to a dark maroon or something. So it's fun to work with it. So I'm developing this library for you. So you can also use it. And I also want to show you the advantage of using the classes and how we can write our own class so that you can make the people's life easy to do something. See, within few lines you have done right, but how many lines of code I have spent here? You see, I have taken the entire burden, and you can also develop for your brothers and sisters, which really help them to understand the basic concepts of coding, right? Before directly telling them what is a code and all. This is what I got an idea about it. I hope you will like it. So I will also share this once I have finished it with you. So you can use this one. So you know how to use the packages, right? At one part, you will have this file with you. And in the other thing, you will develop a program where you will import the simple image. So this is the class you will import. And you can use the functions like this. Okay. So I will name it. So you can say, for example, the name of this file is pillimage.py. You can see here the pillimage.py, which I'm just highlighting it. See my cursor. So what you do, you just simply go on with the other program. You open a new tab and say from pillimage import simple image. Like that you will do. And so all the functions will be accessible to you. Now you can work out with the images. Okay. Right. Okay, that's what I want to tell you, what I'm doing yesterday. While I'm sitting free, so I will do something which I really like, which will be useful to the people also. I ask you the same thing to be performed if possible. So from the current slide, yeah. Okay, so we have done with, we have been doing in the last week, like with overriding, and you also have understood overloading. There is another assignment for overloading for you, which I will share it with you, and you can also do it. I think 2 assignments I will give for overloading the operators so that you will understand the classes and all. So I have already provided the 2 assignments to the other section. I will also discuss with you about those assignments. So the last tool that we have is encapsulation. So until now we have been looking into two other things like inheritance. We have seen multiple inheritance. We have studied about super, how we can use super. We have studied about the variables in the classes, like what are instance variables, what are called class variables, and what are called local variables. So according to our discussion, the local variables are something like belonging to the function only, which cannot be seen by other functions. The instance variables are accessible by all the functions that are in an object, and a class variable is actually seen by all the objects of that class. See the hierarchy. Class variable will be viewed by all the objects of a class. Instance variable can be seen by all the functions of an object, and a local variable can be seen by all lines of instruction in a function, not by other functions, okay, in which it is declared. So this is what you need to remember. And the other thing is we have seen overriding. So overriding concept is something like we are trying to change for our own benefit that what we have inherited. So we might have inherited from a parent class, and so we have tried to change a little bit for our own functionality, like our example of human, men and women, or female and male. So they have their own style of walking and running and talking. So hence we only inherit the functions and we write our own functionality in those functions. This is called overriding. And we also talked about overloading. So in overloading, there are many cases. We can overload an addition, subtraction, multiplication, power and division. In the other section I have discussed, which I have shared the video with you. So for overloading an operator like plus, we generally do the overloading with add. This is the one. These are actually predefined and the functionality should be defined by us. So like your init function, the main function, this is also a predefined aspect. So you cannot write your own function, like instead of add, you cannot write addition there. That's wrong. So we have to use that function name so that the, whenever you see a plus operator in between two objects. So remember that plus, minus, asterisk, a double asterisk and slash, the forward slash. These all only accept the operands. The operands in the sense the left and the right side of your operator. They are called operands. They are only integers or float or some integers or float primitively in C and C++ programming. So how you make the plus operator know what to do with the different operands like objects or characters or strings. This is where the operator overloading comes. So operator also has already had a primitive work. Okay, from our ancient ages, the plus is used for adding some numbers in mathematics. Now the primitive functionality has been overloaded with some concatenation of strings and adding of two objects. Okay, we can say working with two objects where the values of those objects will be added. So to do that, to make the system understand, we need to write a function in the class itself so that the system will understand if a plus operator between two operands and the operands are objects, it will go to that object and see whether the add function is there or not. If it is there, then only it will understand that, oh, I need to add the values of two objects. In the same way, the subtraction, multiplication, power, and true division. Remember, true division is important. Don't write just div. It is true division. I think the div is eligible only for double slash. I think let's see, we can experiment it later. So this is what operator overloading. So you can overload any operator. We also have talked about function overloading, and in future applications also we will go through function overloading so that you will also have much practice about that. But in overloading concept, operator overloading is much important. Coming to encapsulation. So encapsulation is something like it, just a second. It itself says that we need to actually store something like, what can we say? In our real life also, there are few things which are private and few things which are public, right? So something I will say like, what example I can say? Yeah, I can say that my dear student, please write the notes or listen to the lesson or keep quiet in the class or write the assignments. These are the public functionalities that you have given to me particularly. So in the college, these are the public functionalities. So I cannot order you that you have to write like this, you have to write. See, everybody has their own writing style, right? So actually, when I wrote with my pen or pencil in my childhood, I used to write only with two hands, two fingers. Generally, we have three fingers to write, right? When we hold a pen and write it on the book, we have the three fingers that really helps us: the thumb, the first finger, and the second finger. Okay, but I used to only write with two fingers, like the thumb and the first finger. That's all. The index finger, what we say. So some people used to write something like this. They used to keep the pen between what we say a index finger and the middle finger, and they used to write like that. That's very odd type of writing. So I cannot come to you and say this is not the way you need to write. You write like this and you write like this. So see, writing something in your own style cannot be controlled by me. I can only say write the notes. That's all. I cannot say write like this. It's your own procedure of writing. I think you're understanding. So this is private to you. So whatever private, I cannot say it to you. I cannot say you love that person, you go to that person and say propose her the marriage proposal. These are something like different. This is not exactly what we want. So public is different and private is different. So we also have functions like public, private, and protected. Let me see. Somebody has raised the hand. Is it by mistake or any doubt in this? Okay, right. I think it's by mistake. So encapsulation is something which allows us to store the data or the functions that are not eligible for the others. So now I have written a class, right? The same way I will discuss with you the simple image class. So if I want you to access few functions and I don't want to use some functions which are internal, I will make them entirely private. So what I mean to say is, I'll just show you this one. So here, every function is public: display, blank, store, and modify. But remember, these are eligible for you to access. So that you can call display, you can call blank, you can call store and modify. But any of the function which helps this blank to make itself functional. So that is not actually public if I don't want it to be public. For example, I am using a sub function in the blank to fulfill this blank function. I'm using a sub function. Let me tell you an example if we go forward, but just try to understand what I'm saying. This blank is public, so you can use blank function directly when you import this code entirely. But this blank is using an internal function to fulfill its functionality. I think you are understanding. ఈ blank అనే public function ఇంకో function ని వాడుకొని fulfill అవుతుంది. But that other function, I don't want you to get a direct access. So what I do, I will keep it as private. Private means the functions internal to the object can only access the private function. You cannot access it. Only the public can access public function, and private functions can only be accessed by the functions which are actually the part of the object. So for example, I have created an image object, right? So image can use display, blank, store, and modify because these are public functions. It cannot use any private functions which I can declare. I will tell you how to declare private functions. But the private functions are accessible by display, blank, store, and modify, but they are not accessible directly like this. So you cannot call like the 70th line and 71st line. You cannot directly call like this. You can call store, and store can call the private function. Do you understand? You can call a store method which is public, and that public function method can call a private method or a function. So that's what the importance of private. So that means few functions can be accessed by the outside functionalities, But few functions are private, few methods are private, which can only be external to that object. So whenever I say function, you always try to imagine it like a method itself. Okay. So let me show you. See, it's an important concept of OOP, the data abstraction. The abstraction means, can anybody tell me what you mean by abstraction? An English meaning of abstraction? Any idea about abstract or abstraction? Any idea? Any guess at least? What is abstraction?
Sir, an abstract object is something like which doesn't have any real existence, like which is a
Yeah.
concept or something.
Okay. So you're talking like something like a super class. Okay, it's like a super class. Okay. Mhm. Any other? Any other? So I got some messages also. Let me see. Chat. Okay, to remove something is told by that.
So maybe abstraction decides like what particular functions are to be displayed to the user and what are to be kept
Yes,
secret.
that's correct. That's correct. So what should be eligible for some people? What should not be eligible? So if you talk, there are some things private and they can be only accessed by your family, right? So we say something is private to me and it's none of your business, right? So public or your neighbors, your other friends cannot access some of your private things, whatever it might be, the functions or your property or whatever it might be that is private to you, that is only accessible by your family, right? So if you are married, your wife can touch your money because it's your private money. But if somebody touches, you will say it's a thief, right? So in the same way, your mother can has access to many of the functions that you have, which are private. She can order you on anything that is personal to you, but I cannot, because you only allow me to order you few things which should be public and accessible by me. Understand these things, right? So in our life, there is something private and something public. So this is the difference between the private and public that we have in our programming. But the funniest part is that there is nothing private here nowadays. Everything is done in WhatsApp and Facebook. See, if you are eating a chicken biryani also, you will take a selfie and put it in the Facebook. That's what the trend going on. And the more difficult thing is even the romances are kept in the Facebook and WhatsApp status. This is very bad nowadays. So there are some things private which should be private, and there are some things which are public which should be public. So right. So generally speaking, encapsulation is a mechanism for restricting the access to some of the object's components, right? You are clearly restricting it. You have a private variable and you also have a private functionality. So these variables and the functions cannot be directly accessed. Okay. This means that the internal representation of the object cannot be seen from the outside of the object's definition. So the same way I'm telling, in our simple image also, I have allowed you to access different functions like store, display, and etc. some functionalities. So you can access them directly to write your code. But if there is any functionality which I said that's private, you cannot directly access. Like you cannot say image dot something. It will not at all give you the accessibility. So in C and in C++ and Java, it will clearly give you that it's private, but in Python, it says it is not defined. Okay. So let's see what are the things that are accessible. Yeah. So if you have a name for your function, it's a simple name. It's called public, can be accessed from inside and outside. So something is public, can be accessible by the methods of an object and also accessible by the outside functionalities. Okay, remember again, a public function can be accessible to anything. Anything in the sense there are two types here. Let's see what are the two types. The entire thing which I have wrote here is in the global frame or some functionality, which is outside of the class, right? Are you understanding? This is the outside of class. The class is simple image and this is different. Okay. So now you understand that because this is outside and still it can access store function and display function. Okay. It can access still the store function and display function because they are public. They are just a name. Now let us try to make it private. Let's see what will happen. So what is private? So two underscores after the name is private. Okay. Let me see how we do that. See here what I have done. You can see that the method is given like this. You can clearly understand is not accessible, is not accessed. You see, it's not quite available. Let us say save it. And now you see the store, it says it is never defined. Yeah, let us see here. So have you seen this one? It says that image.store simple image object has no attribute called store. This is how it denies you the access. So until now, when store is public, it is accessible, but because now store is private, it is not at all accessible. Let me check out like this. If I can do this. So if I say self dot store and if we can do something like this, okay, self dot store something, whatever we receive here, self dot store. Okay, let me try to say something like this. So we called the modification, right? So what I will do is I will just do it like this. It is now accessed, right? So there is no problem with it. The reason is 1 second. Yeah, it is still working. The reason is for every pixel it is trying to store it as Kranti. So let us see some mischievous thing it might be doing here. My entire memory will be filled after some time. See, it is still doing something here in kranti.jpeg. This is the problem, right? So it is trying to replace it in kranti.jpeg. So still the image is not visible because it is trying to work out with it. And I'm just canceling it now. Okay. So I think I spoiled my grayscale image because of this. Now you can understand, right? It is a function modify, which is part of your class called simple image. And hence it can access this private function. No errors are there because it can access the private function. But when the same function I am trying to access it here, it is unable to say it is not accessible. Sorry, it is unable to say it is accessible. Let us check the same thing again. So I will go back. Okay. So what I will do here, I will write. So this doubt also will be clarified to you. Now I'm using two underscores, right, to make you understand that whether this is accessible or not. You might be thinking like, sir, if you use underscore, whether it is accessible to this. Now let us see the same thing. Let me save. So again, I got this, right? Again, I got this. It says what? I'll just drag it up. Okay, I'll just clear everything so that you will see the entire thing. Yeah, you see what is the thing that it has given? Has no attribute, but actually that is there, but still see, it is saying some lies to us. Abaddham cheptundadi. So it is saying that it is not defined because it is private. It is not accessible. See, modify can access store because modify is part of the class, but the entire thing I have defined from 57th line is in the global frame, which is not part of the class. And hence, in global frame or the outside functions in Python cannot access any private method of your object. Remember again, if you define a method or a function as private that is belonging to an object, the functions in the object can only access that. So modify, blank, display can only access this private store. But whatever that you define in the global frame, like how I am showing now, the 57th line to this 72 line, this is in the global frame, or any other function that is outside the object. So actually this is global frame. So I can write a small function like definition main, right? So I can do like this, def main. This is another way I can do. You can see how I can do this. Let us see. Okay, so I can now call it. So I can say if name is equal to main. So I'm calling the main function. So you see, always every time this is default. Remember, from this time onwards, we will try to use this one. Because I have seen in Stanford, they are making it compulsory because people will know that main function is very important. If you learn C and C++, you will always learn that main function is the first thing to be called. So whatever you declare in the global frame is actually part of your main, but still you can make it something like your own functionality of main. So this is the first line that will be accessed by your Python 75 and 76. And then the main will be called. So this is the functionality, right? This main function is not part of your object. So object function, what are the object functionalities? Can you tell me now? What are the object functionalities? I'm just showing you here. Tell me what are the object functionalities that we have? What is the first function that you are seeing?
Constructor.
Yes, it's a constructor in line number 12. Next.
Display.
Display in line number 37. Next.
Blank.
Blank in line number 40. Next.
Store.
Modify.
Yeah, a private store function or a method, and modify. These are only the methods which are part of object, and main is a function. It's not a method. It's a function. So as I told you, all the functions belonging to an object are called methods, and all the functions which are not belonging to an object are always called functions only. So the functions are something which are defined in the global frame. Methods are something which are defined in an object or a class. Okay, remember the difference. So this function is outside the object and hence it cannot access the store. But if store is public, this function can also access if I make it public. You see the color change. Have you observed it? If I am doing like this, see, it is going to the light color. That means as if it is completely masked. But if you make it like this, so it has some bright yellow, right? So it is now accessible to anything. This is the difference. This is private and this is public. So have you understood or any doubt in this? What is private and what is public?
Understood, sir.
Okay. Any other doubt? Any other person?
Sir, what is this name actually?
Yeah, it's something like whenever you are trying to interpret and trying to compile and next interpret and execute a particular what we say a code in Python, it by default it will always be the function in the coding, and this makes you understand that which is the first function should be executed. Okay, if you write like this, see, if you don't write, the first line of the code will be part of your main in the global frame. But if you define like this, if you don't want to write directly and if you want everything to be written in functions, some function should be first accessed, right? So that is the reason why I'm giving clearly. So if I'm telling the name, if any name is main, if you have some main function, then call that main function. That's what I'm giving it. So if there is a function with a name called main, then immediately call that function called main, because this is the first function which you need to access it. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So remember that there might be 100 functions in C, C++, Java, and even in Python. Main is the first function that will be executed. Then only the other functions will be executed. Remember that main is always the function that is the first function to be executed. It's like our, what we say, our head. So if you talk to somebody, you will talk to my, seeing at my face, right? You cannot talk by seeing at my legs or something. So if somebody talks like that, you will say that person is mad. Why he is looking down and he's talking? Okay. So here you need to understand that if you are talking to somebody, you're talking at his face or his or her face, and you are talking the same way when you are writing a code, after you try to execute it, the CPU will first go to the main function. So CPU in terms of C and C++, JVM or PVM, Python virtual machine or Java virtual machine, they will also go to the main function first. From main function only they will start executing everything. So this is the first line they will try to start execute. Even though they have 100 functions, they will only go to the main function and try to execute the first line in the main function. So this is the best way that we can teach the people how to write main functions here. So from here onwards, whatever you write, don't write in the global frame directly. Define a main function and write your code in that, and then try to use these lines. If name is equal to main, then call the main function. Okay. So from here onwards, from this day onwards, from this moment onwards, try to inculcate the habit of using this. We did not say it first because we want to make you accustomed to Python programming, make the Python programming easy for you. But now you are little bit professional programmers, at least. You are a starter, little bit professional programmers. Okay. So try to inculcate the idea of using these lines. So remember, it will directly first come to 75th line, then go to 76th, and then 58, 59, 60, 61, and goes on. And when you call 72 line, it will now go to the 44th line and execute it. And in the 73 line, it will now go to the 37th line and execute it. So this is how the process of execution is done. So that is the reason why I write if name is equal to main, then execute main. So it indicates that if there is a function called main, execute it first and then only go to the others. That's what the condition that we are giving here. That's why we use this equal to, double equal to. Okay, nothing much more about it to discuss, because you will confuse. Just try to use these lines. So wherever you want the starting line should be, you define it in main itself. That's what you need to remember. Okay, coming back to this. Okay, so we discussed about private. So you can see this private cannot be seen by others. Just underline it. So private cannot be seen and accessed by outside things. Now what is protected? There is another thing called protected. You now know what is public, which can be accessible by anything. That means all the methods of the object which are public can be accessible outside. All the methods which are defined as private cannot be accessible by outside, and they can only be accessed by the functions of that object. Okay. Now what is protected? Let us see. Like a public member, but they should not be directly accessed from outside. Any guess what is protected based on this definition? It's like a public member, Anta. It's like a public member, but they should not be directly accessed from outside. What is this?
So, like you said that the stamp for teachers, students can only access that page and not the other people.
Yes.
Like memberships.
Yes, it is one type of membership function, but let me check what is protected. Now I will give you a short demo in Python Tutor. This protected is mainly accessed in inheritance generally. So public and private can be accessed in normal classes, but protected comes in inheritance. Let me show you why it comes in inheritance. Okay. Right, I will define three functions. Okay. Class parent. I will have something like definition init self pass definition public. So this is a function which is public, which I am giving. So I will say public method self print it is allowed to be used outside. That's what I'm writing. Definition private method. So you can write any name. So I'm using this. But in C++ and Java, if you use public and private, they are not considered as, because public private are predefined. So I think Saurith, you know, because you have studied C++, you know how to declare public and private, right? So you have
Yes,
keywords like public, private, so that by that they will identify. But in Python, there are no keywords like public and private. You have these underscores that only indicate that this is private. Okay, this is a private method because it is starting with underscore. Now you can think that print it is not allowed to be used outside. Next definition, this is protected. Protected method self. Now whatever I print here, you will understand now. It is allowed to be used by child class objects. Okay, child class, and not allowed to be used outside. Okay, this is what the difference is. Okay, right. So we have a, just a second. Yeah, we have a class parent in which I have three methods. One is public, private, and protected. Let me have a child class. Class child, which is inheriting from parent. Okay, class child, which is inheriting from parent. It also has its own constructor self. Let me check what it can do now. So let me check out function usage self. If I call this usage, I am expecting that all the three functions should be called. Let me see what will happen now. Public underscore method should be called, it seems. So we should say self dot, because why I'm using self dot, why can't I use directly public method? Can anybody define?
because public method is a like part of a part of a class.
Yes. Public method is actually inherited by child class, and hence it is part of your object. So public method from your parent class is inherited by the child class, and hence the public method is part of your child class. Any method that is part of a class or an object should always be referred by self, telling that this is my function. So whatever the object of the child, the self will always be that object. So object in the sense, this is my function. So I can say this is Kranti's work. This is Kranti's running. This is Kranti's record. And somebody will say that maybe you take Saurit. Saurit will say for himself, Saurit's work, Saurit's hard work, Saurit's running, Saurit's record. So this is how we generally define the self as. So all the methods that are part of your object should be accessed by only using self dot, not directly. Remember that. And now I'm trying to use private. Just a second. Okay, private. I think he is not able to raise the money, so he is giving some advertisements here nowadays. So self dot, this is protected. Protected method. Now see what will happen now. I'm trying to use all these things. Now I'm defining a, so from here onwards, I'm using this one. Like what I have said, now I need to practice, right? So until now I used to give directly the sentences now, but I am directly giving them into a definition of main. Let's see. What should we write now? Let's define a small thing for child. So C is equal to child. So this is an object. Now let's see C dot usage. Now let us see what will happen now. And before that, I need to write if name is equal to in the sense comparison main. Okay, then call the main function. Now let's try to execute this. What is that? So what is the error that you got?
Invalid syntax, sir.
Invalid syntax is the error that you got. Why should it give it like that?
Because it's private.
Okay, it's private, but it should be accessible.
Sir, the
right?
double in brackets, sir.
That's what I'm thinking. Why invalid syntax? It's accessible, right? Okay, thank you for that. I'm not recognizing that double brackets are there. So actually, if it is there, it says that it is not defined, but invalid syntax is a compilation error. So something wrong with the syntax itself. It's not about the private, public, protected. Now let's look into this one. Now it is going to the child. So main function, right? Now see, from here onwards, it starts executing the 32 line. If name is equal to main, see, now it will go to 33 and then to the definition main. Until now, it is just looking into all the functions. After looking into all the functions, then it is calling the function. That is the main function. Next, I will make you do some programs with this also so that you will understand. So now child object is created. So it is going to child. Yes. Now it is coming to C dot usage. You follow the red line. C dot usage. Yeah, 20th line. And so the public method is accessible. So it is printing. Okay. So let us see whether it prints. Yes, it is allowed to be used outside. Okay. outside can be using it. So usage is a public, so usage is used, and public method is also public. So hence it is also used by usage directly. Now let us see. Yeah, what is the error that you get here? Child object has no child private method. See, it is saying that private method ledantundi. That means it is lying it. It's lying to us that private method is not there. That means because it is private, it is telling that this method is not there. It is actually hiding it. It's actually hiding it because it's private. Now let's go to the next one. Okay. So because this is an error, it came back. Now let us remove this. Let us put it into comments and see what will happen to the next protected. Again, we will start executing it. Usage, public, it is printing, it is not allowed. Next, it comes to protected. Yeah, you see here. Just a second. Again, yeah. Yes. Now you see it comes to the line number 23, right? It is protected method. And now let's go back. See, it is coming to the protected method, line number 12. And it is printing it and coming back. You see here what happens. The protected method is accessible, not the private method. The protected method is accessible and it is being defined. See, and now come back to this again. Edit the code. So now what you understand by public and private? Can anybody define based on the example? Public and protected. What is the difference between them? Now I will show you another thing. Then you can define another thing. That is C dot public method. I can also use this directly, right? Because child C is inheriting from the parent, right? So no need to directly call like this also. I can call directly this one. No need to call usage, and through usage, there is no need for me to use this public method. I can use it. I can use the public method itself directly. So that's what I'm writing here. You just look into this. So I'm directly using it. Let me see. Now I will close this usage and try to make it understandable to you. Okay, now let us see. Okay, child class is being created. Now coming to the line number 32, it is calling the public method, and hence because child is indirectly nothing but a parent, because it is inheriting methods of the parent into the child class. Now you can clearly see that the line number 6, which is having the definition public method, is now accessible to it. Direct accessibility. So that means because the public method is public, you can use it from the outside main function. You can use it from the outside main function and call it. Okay, this is the difference. Now coming back. Yeah, I think there is a connection problem. Am I audible now? Can anybody acknowledge?
Yes.
Okay, right. I'll share the screen again. Yes. Okay. At least try to execute this one. Okay. So what I am using in the line number 32, now I am calling protected method in the function called main, which is outside the object. Now let's see what will happen when it comes to line number 32. Yeah, when it came to line number 32, you see carefully that protected has been accessed. How it can access this? Because it's a child class. That's correct. Because I am using through child object, as it is accessible by child class. So hence it is accessible through the function also. But not other functions can access it. Okay, now let us see. So protected is accessible because it is accessible by the child class. Now coming to this, let us say I am talking about private now. You see, I'm talking about private now. Let us see what will happen if I'm using private. So definitely the private should be a fault here. Okay, you see, there is no private method that is declared. That's what it is saying. There is no object called private. So remember, in these cases, the public method can be inherited and used by child, cannot be inherited and used by child, can be inherited and used by child. So protected is something like, I need to define something like this. So it's like a public member, but they can be accessible by the child. They can be accessible by the child. Private can only be accessible by the functions of a class in which private method is declared. It is not accessible by even the child classes. Remember again, if there is a parent class in which it has 3 functions and one function is private, the other 2 functions of the parent class can access the private function, but not the child class or child class functions. If there is a function called private, the other 2 functions can access this private function in the parent class, and along with that, the child class can also access the protected. So, and if I'm telling private, sorry, it is about protected. Initially, I told about private. I will again repeat it. If there is a method called private method, if there is a class in which one private method and 2 public methods are declared, both public methods can access the private method because all the 3 methods are part of a parent class. So this is the definition of a private. The private is only accessible by the methods which are part of the class in which the private method is also declared. Okay, coming to protected. Protected can be accessible by the child class, not private. So protected can be used by the functions methods of the parent class and also the child class. But protected cannot be accessible outside the object. You cannot directly call a protected method without object, whether it is child or parent. Public method can be accessible by outside functions and also the methods inside a class. It is free to be used. It is free to be used. But protected can be accessed only by parent and the child classes. private can only be accessed by the class, whether it is private or child, parent or child, but only within the class. Did you understand the definition? Can somebody repeat it? What is private, if you understand it in your own terms?
So private is a function or attribute which can be used by the methods of the same class and not not even by the child class or its object.
Yes, correct. Protected. Any other person? Protected. So Saurith has told one thing. So somebody define protected.
Sir, it can be derived from class plus
Hmm.
accessed from class, sir.
So it can be accessed even by the child classes. Private cannot be accessed by the child classes. Even though you are inheriting, you cannot inherit private. But protected can be used by the child class also. But it is not directly accessible by the outside functions. Then what is public?
Can be accessed by everyone. All the
Yes, accessed by anything, outside functions or inside methods. There is no problem for public. So until now, we have been using all the methods as public. So that is the reason why we are accessing them without any restriction. But clearly remember, if you have something private, you should be giving it double underscore before the name. If it is protected, you should be giving single underscore before the name. Okay, so try to understand these definitions based on what we have seen the example. Okay, so this is what
Sir,
I want to discuss. Yeah, tell me.
so what are the visibility modes of these init add? Like we write underscore init underscore add. What are the visibility mode of this?
Yeah, if something like add, see, you can clearly see that they are accessible by everything, right? So double underscore and double underscore at the end indicates that this is a name to be defined correct like that same. So you cannot change the name. If you see in C++ and Java, if you want to define a constructor, have you ever seen the constructor name should be the class name, right?
Yes, sir.
So if the class name is encapsulation, for example, the constructor name should also be encapsulation. But here init is the name given to you. So like your main function in C and C++, there is a function name called main, which is compulsory, and we need to write that main function. Without main function, your program will not get executed. The same way, there are some names to the functions which are predefined. So if the system has to understand what to do, the name of the function should be like that only. For that, we generally use underscore underscore, some name and underscore underscore. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So naturally,
Yes.
because it is accessible by outside functions, they remain public. So when you are doing something like concatenation plus operator overloading, so are you able to access add function outside that, right?
Yes, sir.
So naturally, it should be public. If you are able to access, it is definitely public. Did you understand?
Yes, sir. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So we will discuss about the special methods later. Let me explain you some assignments. So I will tell you, these are also very important, like str, length, delete and all. So from the next session, maybe we will start data structures, the first sorting and all. Then I will try to explain everything to you. So before that, we will talk about the str, length and delete. Maybe in the next classes, we will discuss about these. For now, I'm telling you about the assignments that you need to do. Let's see okay. Let me go to the other section and try to copy it if possible. I don't know if it is there in this remote. Next
Sir,
is, yeah, tell me.
sir, is the protected we are using here and we'll get in the PowerPoint now, sir? Is the board same?
I did not understand. Can you repeat it again?
Sir, now we are using protected here, right, sir? Protected view like that. like we are using protected, no, sir.
Ah,
Is that we like is that the same thing we like it's written behind the PowerPoint, sir? Because when we open, we'll get protected view, no, sir, like that.
that protected in the sense that's completely like different, like authentication. So this protected is something different. Okay,
Yes,
protected here, it actually this is also a private thing, but the thing is that they have named differently. The reason, they have two different types of authentication. So if there is a method that is private, it should only be accessible by the methods of the same class. If there is another private method which is named as protected, so this method is private to the parent and the child classes. Did you understand?
yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that
sir.
is the reason they have changed the name to differentiate between two types of private functionalities. They have said one is private, the other one is protected. That's all. That protected is different from this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And of course, both are private and protected actually. Okay, so they are not directly accessible by you without any authentication. That's what.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So coming back, I'll just go to this one, try to copy it in the dashboard. So these are the assignments I have given to the other sections. So 5 and 6 exercises. Okay, what I will do is I will try to copy them and give it to you here. So I have given it to the other section. So now I have saved it here. Operator overloading exercise. Can you give me the full name, baby? Okay, fine. These both are there. Coming back to the dashboard, accessing yours. Turn editing on. Okay. Let me copy this. And let me copy this. Right. So I have done this. Turn editing off. Right. So I have just copied the two assignments I have given for the other section into yours. So this is the first one. Okay. You can see here. So create a class called distance. A person has to travel a certain distance and he has used two cars. So maybe by braking in between. So for example, if you want to go to Hyderabad, you used one car to go to Vijayawada, and from there you used another car to go to Hyderabad. And now your thing is to calculate the total distance based on the cars that travel to a certain distance. So now create two cars. Sorry, two objects. One is the car one's distance and car two's distance. That's why I have said car distance one and car distance two for the class called distance. So two objects for the class called distance. Add the two object distances. So that means a class called distance will have a variable calculating the distance. Okay, calculating the distance. It's a variable. And so the car distance one and car distance two have two different distances stored in their variables. Now our thing is to operator overloading to add these two objects so that their distances will be added. So that's what I'm giving here. Add the two object distances and put the total distance in the third object. So you need to declare a third object in which you need to keep the total distance. Okay, by adding that. Okay. So now coming to this instruction. So take one data member which will accept the distance into kilometers. The input will be in kilometers. Take two functions which are public. So methods or functions which are public, one for accepting the distance and the other for displaying the distance. Are you understanding? So this is not parameterized constructor. This is a default constructor. This is a default constructor where you have only self in the init and pass. And there are two functions. One method is to access the parameter like the distance an argument, and the other is to display the distance in an object. So you can say something like car distance dot get distance. So car dist1 dot get distance, and you give that distance in kilometers. So you give a number, you think that it's in kilometers. Like for example, I will say 100 kilometers. So you call another object car dist2 dot get distance, and you give this time 200 kilometers. Okay, 200 as a number. Okay, so now when you call display car dist1 dot displaying, it will display the kilometers, how much it has stored. In the same way, car dist2 dot display. That's what I want to know. The next thing is display the total distance in meters. So finally, after adding, so when you said something like car distance, car dist3 is equal to car dist1 plus car dist2, the distances of both of them should be added and the final answer should be written. And the final answer should be in meters. You are now converting kilometers into meters. See the test cases. Generally, you have input 2 and 10. That means 2 kilometers and 10 kilometers for 2 cars. The total is 12 kilometers, right? So after adding it, you need to give the output should be like this. See the M also. It is telling like 12,000 meters they have traveled. So 12 kilometers, right? 12,000 meters should be there. So space, give the space also. It should print like this. Do operator overloading, use underscore underscore add underscore underscore function, and it should actually give the output like this. This print cheyal meeru. And when you are doing an operator overloading, the answer that should be returned to something, and that something is being printed like this. So convert the kilometers into meters and print like this, including M, space M. The same thing you can see 2030, and you have 50,000 meters, 2600. You will have 1,26,000 meters. So this is how you need to write the code. I think you understand. As same, what you have done in the previous operator overloading exercise, you need to do the same. So now it's very easy and start doing it now. I will explain the third one, because third one needs little bit of explanation. This is the exercise I have given, which is a part of my earlier, exercises to the people in ANITS, I think. So I have collected it again from my previous archives. It's like I have designed a tsunami sensor. So your thing is to write down the exact functionality which I want. Okay, see the inputs also. So I will explain you later, but first finish it now. Finish the first exercise which I have given today. This is the one. Any doubts in this? Anything that I need to clarify you? You have 3 free evaluations. Run, debug, evaluate, and auto grading will be there. And you have to write in one file. Be careful. You can run number of times, but you can only evaluate for 3 times. After that, 1 mark will be cut. So if you have any doubts and clarifications, just ask me now for this exercise. I will come within a moment. Any doubts you have? Okay, do it anyway.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, is the function of this total distance just to print the total or to like call this add function also?
See, yeah, to print the distance and nothing like that. Actually, what I mean to say, okay, there is no need of any third object if possible. What I want to say is you first declare two objects, right? You do operator overloading, simple operator overloading. You know how to do it, right? So using that
Yes.
underscore underscore add underscore underscore. And you do something like card dist1 plus card dist2, and the distances will be added and return to an integer variable if possible. Okay, something like answer is equal to card dist1 plus card dist2. And the return, after return, you should print the output in meters. You do like that. There is no need of third object if possible.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I think after 5 minutes, I will explain the third one also. So in between, by the time we meet in the next class, you might be doing that. Or otherwise, we will take some time for the next class also. You do this program now, so that anyway, after 5 minutes, we need to close the session, right? So in the next session, we will discuss about the second assignment. So I think if you have finished, you can leave that Zoom and you can join the other session. So I will also close this for now. So bye bye for this class, and we meet in the next class and we discuss in the next exercise.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.